But I think probably the economics of staying in and coming out are 50-50. I don't think it will make a tremendous amount of difference. I don't think us coming out will create a third world war, and I don't think that Turkey is waiting to come into the European Union. I think on south of the border, on both sides, some of the arguments have been quite ridiculous. My fundamental case is on democracy. I would like you to face the test that I've asked people in Orkney and Shetland recently to face. And there is a test of democracy. You need to be able to know who the government is that determines your legislation and how it's implemented. You need to be able to know who actually represents you. Now, ask yourself this about the European Union. Do you know any of the 28 commissioners in Brussels? Do you know any of Scotland's 6 members of the European Parliament? Do you know how big the European Parliament is? When last did you actually meet a member of the European Parliament and listen to what it was saying? If you're going to create a single political organisation, which is the purpose of those in Brussels, if you're going to create a single one, you have to have what is known as homogeneity. You have to have pan-European political parties, where if you live in Naples, you broadly understand what is happening in Liverpool, and if you live in Edinburgh, you have a broad understanding of what's happening in places like Poland and Lithuania in terms of their social and economic needs. That does not exist inside the European Union. When we come to elect the European Parliament, we do so on the basis of SNP, Lib Dem, Tory, UKIP. And it's only when they get to Brussels that they cobble themselves together in some groups. And I doubt if anybody here, the same as anywhere else in Scotland or the UK, know which political groups operate in the European Parliament. So in many ways, it lacks the essential of democracy. The people who initiate legislation and ensure it's implemented is the Commission. 28 people unelected, a self-selecting elite. There's about 5 former Prime Ministers in the 28 at the moment, foreign ministers, and it's like a carousel. They got on for 4 years and then people just like them got on in their place. And last week I got some idea of how undemocratic that the European Parliament was. I switched on to the Parliament channel, and there they were broadcasting a debate in the European Parliament on the refugee crisis. Nobody can dispute that it's a major crisis. There are people in trouble all over Europe. So I thought, well, a debate. The presiding officer gave each member who spoke 1 minute to take part. By the time they had said, Mr. Presiding Officer, thank you very much, 10 seconds of the 60 had already gone. How can we possibly treat a parliament with respect and take it seriously when on a debate as much as that, members got 1 minute each? It wasn't a debate at all. Then we come to the Council of Ministers. That's where legislation is finally endorsed. And the Council of Ministers is made up of all the heads of the government of the 28 states in the European Union, plus a president who is unelected, former Prime Minister of Portugal. You and I know our Prime Minister. We haven't a clue who the Slovakian, who the Slovenian, who the Lithuanian and the Estonian and the Finnish people are who gather in there. And that means if you don't know, then it's fundamentally undemocratic. And I think the only way that we can draw back sovereign democratic power into the United Kingdom is actually by leaving. Thank you.